Pull up a chair. Hold your coffee close. Let it warm your hands. Tonight, I want to talk about a name you've probably heard 1,000 times, but maybe never from this particular angle. Lionel Messi. Not the goals, not the trophies he's collected throughout his career. Something deeper. How a small kid whose body was never considered enough became one of the most dominant humans in the most competitive sport on the planet. We're not going to treat this as some generic motivational story. We're going to break it down through psychology, through pain, through what actually happens inside the mind of someone who was told from childhood that his body simply wasn't enough. Get comfortable. Let's find out what we can really take from Messi's life.
When Messi was a kid growing up in Rosario, Argentina, he was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. His body didn't develop at the same rate as the other kids his age. On the field, he played against boys who were far bigger, taller, and physically stronger. Picture that position for a second. At an age when other kids start feeling confident in their bodies, Messi had to take hormone injections every night and accept the fact that physically, he was falling behind. Psychologically, that should be a recipe for deep insecurity. But here's what's fascinating. Out of that exact limitation, Messi developed a playing style that didn't rely on physical power at all, but on speed of decision-making, agility, and reading space faster than anyone else on the field. In psychology, there's a concept called compensatory mastery. When someone develops an extraordinary ability in one area, specifically as a response to a deficiency in another. Messi couldn't win through muscle, so his mind, his instincts, and his feet became his real weapons.
This is the part I think matters most. Before the world knew Messi as a world champion, he spent years being labeled a failure at the international level, losing one final, then another, to the point where he once considered walking away from the national team entirely because of the weight of criticism. Imagine that psychological pressure, being considered the best player in the world at club level while constantly being told you're not enough for your own country, year after year. But he didn't stop there. He came back. And it took over a decade of searching before he finally led his country to a world title, at an age many considered past his prime for a sport this physically demanding. This is what psychology calls resilience. Not the absence of falling, but the capacity to keep returning, even after the world has told you repeatedly that your chance has passed.
A lot of people see Messi as a natural talent, someone born a genius at the game. But what often gets overlooked is just how relentlessly consistent his training has been, year after year, even after he became the best player in the world. In performance psychology, there's a real distinction between talent and deliberate practice. Practice that's intentional and continuously refined. Talent might get you a starting point, but what keeps someone at the top for nearly 2 decades in a sport this competitive is a consistency most people never see on camera.
So, what can we actually learn from Messi's life? It's not about becoming the best football player in the world. It's about how being quiet or introverted doesn't mean you have less passion or feeling. It's about how repeated failure isn't a sign to quit. It's part of a process whose meaning often only becomes clear later. And most importantly, it's about quiet consistency. The hard work no one sees, done not for applause, but because you believe in the process itself. You probably won't become a world champion, but you have your own story, your own limitations, and the same opportunity to keep going, even when the world tells you that you're not enough. Finish your coffee. And if tonight you feel like your limitations are holding you back, remember this. Sometimes the very thing that makes you different is the same thing that ends up making you irreplaceable. Sleep well, my friend. See you in the next cup of coffee.